with the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Liberty University, the Doctorate of Business is hereby conferred upon Michael J. Lindell with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereunto. Dr. Mike, come on up.
On August 21st, 2019, Mike Lindell was awarded an honorary PhD in business administration while speaking at the convocation ceremony at Liberty University. Just 10 years before, he was only starting to claw his way out from underneath a lifetime of substance abuse, gambling, and overall recklessness that had cost him numerous businesses, his home, and a 20-year marriage. Lindell was able to turn his life around by way of a small side venture he'd held on to, selling his own handmade pillows, selling tens of millions of units by the end of the decade. Lindell's wholesome, somewhat clumsy but well-meaning flyover country persona was a major asset to the brand and had made him a minor celebrity. Standing on the stage at Liberty, Dr. Mike Lindell had a lot to be proud of. He'd gone from homeless addict to multimillionaire and created thousands of jobs. He'd not only earned back the respect he'd lost from his community, but now he was famous for all the right reasons. Mike Lindell was the quintessential American comeback story, and now he was going to use his success to pursue a higher calling.
And this is my calling. The pillow is just a platform for a much bigger thing, and that's today I have a book coming out called What Are the Odds? This is the last day of that book because my calling is to be able to speak out the word of Jesus.
But then he got a little sidetracked.
January 15th, I went in there with 4 papers that shows dominion and the election crime of the machines in China and attacking our country.
No, we're not going on a break.
All 50 states, over 12 million votes.
There's no breaks. We're streaming 72 hours.
And you talk about evidence. We had enough evidence to put everybody in prison for life, 300 and some million people.
Why do you think I keep going? Do you think I like getting attacked?
The Donald Trump won by 82 million to 68 million.
I'm staying up here for 72 hours. Why? Just forget about the evidence.
It's a class action lawsuit against all machines. Why are you protect a company called Dominion and you attack a company called MyPillow?
This never stops.
You're a traitor to our country. You're a disgusting traitor. Traitor. The FBI came after me and took my phone.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you have been saying
they surrounded me at a Hardee's. Traitor.
How much has this crusade cost you personally, Mike?
Over 40 million.
You're disgusting.
So what happened? How did this kindly, folksy pillow salesman from Minnesota become a paranoid political activist with a hair trigger who had sunk all of his own money, sold off much of his company, and was now begging and borrowing to keep his activities going? Not so long ago, Mike Lindell was making money hand over fist, convincing people a pillow filled with ripped up memory foam would change their lives. Today he's overspending millions of dollars on a janky social media platform and flying drones carrying WMDs around.
Special delivery, everybody! Special delivery!
While millions in civil suit judgments continue to pile up against him. How did he get here? Did the chaos and disruption of the COVID-19 pandemic cause him to go off the rails? Did he relapse on drugs, as many have speculated? Did a circle of grifters who had congealed around him take him for a ride? Or is he simply one of many Americans who sincerely believes that Joe Biden's election to the presidency in 2020 was fraudulent and is putting everything on the line to save his country? Or did he succumb to another addiction, a lifelong compulsive gambling habit? Mike Lindell may have quit blackjack in 2014, but for the truly inveterate gambler, the world is a casino. It's a story of hubris and stubborn defiance, a story about reckless disregard, a story of codependency, enabling, gaslighting, and counter-gaslighting, a story about the fine line between the grind and the grift. This is the story of the man behind MyPillow. Much of the following is taken from Mike Lindell's 2019 self-published autobiography, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Because Mike declined to work with a co-writer or editor, his unchecked penchant for tangents, or, as he refers to them, rabbit holes, results in a convoluted, non-linear mess of a reading experience. On the plus side, sifting through the needlessly extraneous details in his narrative style occasionally offers insights he by no means intended to include. Michael James Lindell was born June 28, 1961, in Mankato, Minnesota, the first of 3 children for James and Barbara Lindell. Early on, the Lindell family relocated to Chaska, an outer ring suburb of the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area. Mike would later cite his parents' divorce when he was 7 as the formative, traumatic experience that laid the foundation for his cycle of self-destructive behavior later in life. The indignity of living with his mom in a single wide trailer across the street from the Gedney Pickle Factory would remain an especially poignant memory. Though Barbara soon remarried to Fred Taylor in 1970, Mike felt shame at a time when divorce was still widely stigmatized. To compensate, Mike began to hide behind a persona of show-off. That year, he tried to impress classmates by jumping out of the window of a moving school bus. At home, gambling was normalized to Mike from an early age, when family games typically included cash wagers. His maternal grandfather appears to have been his biggest role model. Grandpa regaled Mike with colorful anecdotes of his days dealing cards in Deadwood, South Dakota, which would not legalize gambling until 1988. Grandpa even claimed to have known infamous mafia-affiliated casino developer Benjamin Bugsy Siegel before his murder in 1948.
It's a typical Arctic afternoon in Bloomington, Minnesota. The Rams, who will try to pretend the shivering 14-degree temperatures have no effect on them. The Vikings will be aiming for an unprecedented 4th Super Bowl visit and their 3rd in the last 4 years.
At 15, Mike began getting involved in sports betting. He determined quickly that he could outdo the odds by mastering statistical analysis, and found that the experience of winning boosted his self-esteem. He started abusing alcohol during this time after he found it also provided him with a sense of self-confidence. He got his first job at the Flying Cloud Drive-In movie theater, where he met his first girlfriend, a 14-year-old named Donna. Though he later claimed he never felt true love for her, Mike regarded Donna as his fiancée throughout their 6-year relationship. Mike soon got a second job where his stepfather, Fred Taylor, worked as a meat cutter.
How'd those work out for you?
Well, the one I was fired at, the grocery store.
Okay, that one not so much.
And that's the most interesting one. I actually kept getting fired there over and over again. And the owner of the grocery store, he says, Mike, if you don't like these rules and stuff, the stuff that's going on, he said, how does it feel like you're some kind of hero? Star Mustang too.
He saved up paychecks to buy a Ford Mustang that he totaled a week later. Soon after, he totaled Fred's pickup after falling asleep at the wheel and driving it into a cornfield. In his book, Mike interprets this as an out-of-body experience, which he describes as seeing himself ejected from the truck, lying in the field unconscious. His next memory is being ambulanced to the hospital. While Mike characterizes this event as somewhat supernatural, what gets overlooked is that he describes sustaining a concussion and what this might explain.
Traumatic brain injuries, or TBIs, can lead to struggles with memory, mobility, mental health, and cognitive function.
I've talked before on this channel about traumatic brain injuries and how they can significantly alter personality. Damage to brain tissue and a maladaptive healing process can affect a wide range of functioning depending on the area impacted.
There is no definitive healing time for a brain injury, and now new evidence actually suggests these are chronic conditions for many people, and they need to be treated as such.
Long-term effects of TBI can include cognitive impairments, difficulties in impulse control and anger management, problem-solving challenges, and sleep disturbances.
I had problems sleeping, and
Mike increasingly engaged in risky behavior, including reckless stunts and drunk driving. At 17, he bought a motorcycle that he repeatedly wrecked. Once on the same day, he reportedly survived a parachute mishap at a skydiving lesson. Mike graduated from Chaska High School in 1979 and enrolled in the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis that fall.
Some 60 Americans including our fellow citizen whom you just saw bound and blindfolded, are now beginning their 6th day of captivity inside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran.
On November 4th, 1979, 52 U.S. diplomats were taken hostage by a group of student militants at the embassy in Iran. Mike convinced himself that the crisis was a sign that Armageddon was approaching and that higher education was futile. He dropped out, bought a van, and headed out to California to see the ocean. But he only made it as far as Las Vegas, where he quickly blew through all his cash at the Castaway. He found $5 silver in his van, played craps for the first time, and won $2,600. From here, Mike's unrealistic expectations and sense of entitlement would become firmly entrenched. Back in Chaska, Mike's sports betting habit progressed to the point he was making wagers he had no means of covering. By fall of 1981, Mike was down $12,000. He'd never met his bookie firsthand, and when he received a semi-threatening anonymous note handwritten on a Hardee's bag, he assumed the worst. Mike was able to cover his losses by taking out a loan against his trailer home, and the incident did nothing to dissuade him from continuing to bet on sports. In 1982, after 6 years marked by constant fighting, 20-year-old Donna left Mike for one of his friends. In 1983, Mike was living with his grandma Millie, who worked briefly as a laborer at his uncle's farm, but quickly decided he would buy and sell his own hogs instead. When the hog market took a dip that summer, Mike began studying Voss Spano's card-counting system. By his own admission, Mike's impulsivity and penchant for thrill chasing would remain his biggest handicap as an aspiring professional card counter. Mike convinced Grandma Millie to front him a stake for a Las Vegas trip, where he claimed to earn $300 a day for 40 days in a row. He developed a trick he would employ to varying degrees of success. Thanks to his years of alcohol abuse, Mike's tolerance allowed him to drink heavily and still feel fully in control while simultaneously tracking the cards and acting convincingly too drunk to be able to. The gas station incident. November 1983. 22-year-old Mike Lindell has $25,000 in the hole with a new bookie, who he has never met and knows little about, but assumes is closer to the real mafia than the bookie that threatened him with the Hardee's bag in 1981. He gets a call from a mystery thug at his mom and stepdad's, telling him, "We know you don't care about yourself, but you're living with a pretty nice family." After coming to the conclusion they were on their way to physically harm his loved ones, Mike got on the road, pounded a case of beer, and broke into a gas station 36 miles away in St. Peter. His plan? To get arrested so he would be safe in jail and so the mafiosos might assume he was working on getting them the money. Instead, while he was casually thumbing through the till, someone emerged from the back of the store. Mike fled in a panic, forgetting to put checks back that he still had in his hands or pocket for some reason. He then led police on a high-speed chase around town before blowing all 4 of his tires. Mike pled guilty to DUI and felony theft in March of 1984. He was sentenced to 5 years probation along with 5 weekends of work-release detention. At his plea hearing, a mystery woman slipped Mike a note. "You're doing a good job. Don't give anyone our names." Mike felt he had to withhold the whole story of what happened out of fear of mafia retaliation. Out of shame and anger over being thought of as an actual thief, Mike Lindell began using cocaine.
I'm sure that if I took even one sniff. The drugs really.
The drugs, when I started the drugs, that was like 1983. I was actually in jail at the time on work release for some DWIs for drinking, and that's where I collected them like, candy, there's another DWI, I probably had 3 or 4 of them. Well, but I was on work release and my friends, they had this cocaine party the night before, and I was so tired in the morning, and he said, just take stick some under you, it'll wake you up, under your gum. And I'm not touching cocaine. Well, I'll tell you what, that was like, boy, I could talk to people then, let me tell you what. I could, my self-worth, it was like it was on top of the world. I was on top of the world.
In addition to confidence, cocaine gave Mike ambition. When his sister's waterbed leaked, causing her second-floor apartment to flood, Mike started up a carpet cleaning operation. At his 5-year high school reunion, Mike hid his insecurities over his station in life compared to his peers by boasting about his escapades. The cocaine and alcohol helped Mike embellish his storytelling, and he began to convince himself that the class enjoyed his antics. In early 1985, Mike met a 22-year-old single mom named Karen Dickey while working as a bartender. The two went out on a few awkward dates, and while Mike had immediately fallen fully in love, Karen wasn't interested in pursuing things further. Depressed, Mike decided he would take another trip to Las Vegas, win big, and return to Chaska to prove I was someone who mattered.
But I've got no chance of losing this time. Well, I've got no chance of losing this time.
Mike was living with his sister Cindy and her boyfriend Wayne Salvin at the time. Mike funded his Vegas run by stealing $180 along with several blank checks from Wayne. He consumed an 8-ball of cocaine and lost everything in a blackout at Circus Circus. Using an Amico card, he rounded up another $200, trading gas for cash at 50 cents on the dollar, which he promptly lost at Vegas World. Mike made his way back to Chaska by forging the blank checks he'd stolen from Wayne to pay for gas, food, and repairs. Mike proclaimed to have found Jesus and wanted to turn his life around, but instead rolled his car in another drunk driving accident. Faced with another DUI, Mike checked himself into Wilmar Regional Treatment Center for the first of 7 treatment episodes. Mike was inpatient for 26 days, but quickly became distracted after a peer told him about food trucks. Fixated on starting up one of his own, Mike sleepwalked his way through treatment.
I'm going, what a waste of time me being in here.
A friend named Lee Tischler was able to front him $8,000 to start Sunshine Concessions in spring 1986. Since his driver's license was suspended, Mike began heavily relying on Karen for transportation and moral support. After this led to a date at the Minnesota State Fair, Mike discovered his power lied in appearing sympathetic. Mike proposed to Karen soon after they began dating, and the two married in May 1987. Mike adopted Karen's 2-year-old daughter, Heather, and the couple gave birth to a second daughter, Lizzie, in 1988. A son, Charlie, was born the next year, followed by youngest son, Darren, in 1990. After surviving potentially life-threatening complications during delivery, Darren would be instantly anointed as the golden child of the Lindell family. According to his book, in 1990, Mike bought a bar in nearby Victoria, Schmitty's, with the proceeds of a bet on a football game. In truth, Karen and a friend named Wayne Helk were listed as the owners because Mike's criminal record would inevitably complicate liquor and gaming licensure. The previous year, Mike had purchased a bar in nearby Victoria called The Statesman. He'd gone into the venture with Lee Tischler, his partner from Sunshine Concessions, and they changed the name to Lee Michaels. It's unclear why the lounge was sold after only a year and under what circumstances. In an interview in 2017, Tischler said only that Mike could sell sand to an Arab, but the money would all go to drugs. He added that he wanted absolutely nothing to do with Mike Lindell. In his book, Mike describes Schmitty's as a bar like no other, and he makes no effort to curb his sentimentality over his time as owner. Tellingly, while the reader learns little about Mike's family and loved ones, entire chapters are dedicated to his life at Schmitty's. Mike promoted a raucous atmosphere and saw his own cocaine-fueled antics as the centerpiece of Schmitty's in the 1990s. Mike tells of a time in 1996 when he smashed a projection screen TV that was malfunctioning as an example of the wild, unpredictable environment he cultivated as the owner. But his superfluous rambling style of storytelling provides an alternate interpretation. Mike's father, Jim Lindell, was recently divorced for a second time and had become a Schmitty's regular since he lived nearby. Pointing to the faulty projection screen TV, which had been neglected for months, Jim advised his son a good bar owner would take care of that. Mike responded to his estranged father's critique of the facade of a functional adult life he'd slapped together by throwing a violent tantrum. Meanwhile, Mike and Karen had grown accustomed to living beyond their means. On top of skyrocketing cocaine habits, the Lindells bought a top-end house and began vacationing regularly. Mike tells of a family trip to California that was sidelined by his gambling, alongside lavish cocaine-filled trips he and Karen would take to Mexico. Mike briefly coached for his son's Little League team, but soon dropped out after realizing it didn't allow for him to be the center of attention.
You ever get involved with coaching them with any of the sports, or you always watch that stuff from the sideline?
Just 1 year that I did it. I was a former addict, so I was a very functioning addict. So I think because of my insecurities, I only coached that 1 year, and it just was uncomfortable. The other coaches kind of took over more of the stuff that I did.
Neither our kids nor their friends knew that the Lindell adults were addicts.
Mike regarded the flimsy house of cards he'd propped up during this period as evidence that he was a functioning addict on soft cocaine.
Do you know anyone that's done crack then went back to doing just soft cocaine?
The Vikings are on a drive to Miami, and Minnesota 9 News is taking you along for the ride.
On January 15th, 1999, the Minnesota Vikings lost the NFC Championship game. Despondent, Mike Lindell began smoking crack. While soft cocaine had made him feel extroverted and boisterous, crack left Mike paranoid and withdrawn. Karen started smoking crack soon after, and the two quickly became the target of each other's paranoia and anger. By 2002, Schmitty's had lost many of its customers to neighboring Floyd's bar. Mike felt deeply and personally betrayed by the family of capital R regulars whose loyalty he'd bought by sponsoring softball leagues and all-expense-paid junkets to Las Vegas. Perhaps it was the loss of soft cocaine Mike and his widely beloved hopped-up theatrics that contributed to the decline. Perhaps Mike and Karen's habit of indiscriminately using the Schmitty's cash register as their personal ATM played a role as well. On one sleepless night, Mike began regaling preteen Darren with almost certainly heavily embellished tales of his days as a professional card counter. Recounting that his mentor, Voss Spanos, considered him to be the most naturally gifted counter he'd ever seen, Mike outlined how his gambler's nature had always been his biggest setback. Darren asked why he wouldn't just use these skills the right way to resolve the Lindell family's chronic financial instability. Mike took this rhetorical question from his 12-year-old son as affirmation that gambling was now his sense of purpose. In May 2002, he was pulled over yet again for driving without a license. He was convicted of driving after cancellation and sentenced to at-home scram monitoring. He promptly tested positive for alcohol and was sentenced to serve 19 days at the Plymouth Correctional Center, beginning November 9th. On his first day of work release, he planned to bring Darren to play on the arcade games at Schmitty's. Instead, he left his 12-year-old son alone in the bar for 2 hours while he smoked crack in the basement. Mike had taken a urine test dodging mix before reporting back to jail, but he didn't anticipate that he would get tested later in the evening. After he came up positive for cocaine, Mike's work release was revoked, and he spent the rest of November bombarding the warden with kites and practicing card counting with a contraband deck he'd snuck in. Having now anointed himself as a full-time professional card counter, Mike emptied the Schmitty's till nightly in hopes of making payroll. Outside one reportedly profitable jaunt to Laughlin during a family reunion in Phoenix, he lost regularly at casinos in Wisconsin, along with crack-fueled trips to Kansas City and Memphis. He sold Schmitty's on May 31st, 2003. He sold the contract deed to his bookie's son, a man named Nathan Neff, for $50,000. Mike planned to use this as his stake to count cards to turn enough profit to buy the deed back. Instead, between December 2003 and March of 2004, Mike lost it all. Fortunately, he and Karen were still able to enjoy another lavish Mexico trip that January, thanks to the generosity of another unnamed friend. Somewhere around this time, Mike had a dream that inspired him to create this bizarre piece of outsider art he called God Against Crack. Down the road, he would continue to find ways to see this as prophetic. In the spring of 2004, Mike had a dream wherein he found himself trying to find his pillow. Reflecting on this, it occurred to Mike that a pillow is a very personal thing. He decided MyPillow had a lot of potential as a brand name and began scrawling the two words repeatedly for hours.
So I walked upstairs to get a glass of water, randomly one night. And basically, he was sitting at the counter with a bunch of papers everywhere. I asked him what he was doing, and he's like, I'm making pillows now. And I'm like, oh, that's really random.
Meanwhile, oldest daughter Heather was studying graphic design at the University of Minnesota in Duluth. On their way to the casino, Mike and his brother Corey stopped by the next night unannounced and ordered her to design a logo for MyPillow on the spot.
Yep, I was going to school for a fine arts degree. And yeah, so he drove up in the middle of the night after he got this logo idea.
This is the next day.
The next day.
I guess,
But we're going to get this done right now.
Right. You waited a whole 12 hours or whatever it was, Mike.
Yeah, he came to my college apartment, knocked on the door, and my roommates were a little freaked out that my dad was at our apartment. But yeah, he wanted me to draw a logo out, and I was really confused, but I did it. I think it was like 3,000 bags he went and printed with this like hand-drawn logo at the time, like not perfected at all. And then he printed it on 3,000 bags, and he hadn't even made the pillow prototype quite yet.
Mike soon began spending hours at the Bed Bath & Beyond in Bloomington studying pillows. He eventually decided on a fill consisting of different sized chunks of memory foam that interlocked to hold shape. He and Darren produced the first 300 MyPillows in their home. He went back to the same Bed Bath & Beyond at Southtown in hopes of getting his product on their shelves, but was turned down, not realizing that big box retailers have corporate buyers who work with vendors, and that store-level personnel are not authorized to make such decisions.
I got the best product ever made. You know, how many you want? And they're going, we don't know you. It was like,
In December 2004, Mike and Karen set up a kiosk for MyPillow at a home event at Eden Prairie Center. Though the kiosk fee was $100, the management somehow convinced Mike to pay $1,000 for reasons that are never made clear.
My wife at the time, she worked most of the hours, but the one day I did work, the guy came up very aggressive. He buys one. I said, you got a business card? He said, this is really unique. You got to invent this. You got a patent on it.
Hampered largely by Mike's social phobia, the two only sold a handful of pillows. However, one buyer happened to run the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show and offered Mike a spot in the March 2005 exhibit, where he was able to sell out the rest of his inventory. Mike continued his card counting under the presumption it would fund the scaling of MyPillow's production, though in the end, the money would come from angel investors and personal loans from family, friends, and bookies. Mike and Karen took $2,000 in spare cash they somehow still had on a trip to the Beau Rivage Casino in Biloxi. As luck would have it, his mentor Voss Spanos had sent scouts to that very same casino to recruit for a high-end card-counting team. The scouts were so impressed with Mike's flawless execution of his drunk guy routine that Spanos begged Mike to lead his team of elite advantage players. This top-flight lineup appeared to include his brother Corey.
And, I've reached a point now where nothing he says surprises me anymore.
Along the way, Mike managed to endear himself to Don Laughlin, owner of the Riverside Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. Don gave Mike a business card that he would soon begin waving around like a badge. On the back, Don had written, "Mike is a friend. I have an interest in MyPillow." In early 2006, Mike made his first live appearance on local cable access channel MCN6. He was reportedly in active withdrawal from crack during the interview and has not been able to bring himself to watch it since. At a bankruptcy hearing in January 2007, Mike and Karen Lindell were found to be liable for bankruptcy fraud for having shifted gambling losses and other personal debts onto Schmitty's balance sheet. Mike had anticipated a $50,000 refund at the end of the process. When he learned he would not be entitled to this, Mike erupted in an angry tirade in the courtroom and began making derogatory statements about the judge and attorneys. Mike was able to avoid contempt charges, however, because the FBI were waiting outside the courtroom. As it turned out, they had been investigating a scam bankruptcy operation for years and desperately needed Mike and Karen's testimony to put away the crooked attorneys that were truly responsible for Mike's bankruptcy winding up being declared fraudulent. The following month, the bankrupt couple enjoyed another annual vacation to Mexico. While buying cocaine for the trip, Mike reportedly ended up in the middle of rival gang factions, the story of which would wind up being the introduction to What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO.
In one motion, eyes unsheathed the mysterious object and pressed it against my throat. It was a machete, and its blade gleamed dully in the light from the shack. I was electrified, but not scared, if you know what I mean. But now the game was over. The house had won. I was going to die right here on this deserted street. A small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
Spoiler, the cliffhanger that's set up in the prologue turns out to be Mike almost getting found out for having coke on him, but not. It's beyond stupid, but Mike really wanted to leave his readers gripped.
That was it was the scariest moment of my life. I've had 14 near-death experiences, but that right there, when I pulled out and I seen it, and I crumbled it, the move I had to make, I can't even duplicate. It's like, it was just and I handed it to him, but then I put that back in my pocket.
April 29th, 2007 was Karen Lindell's 50th birthday. The two partied all night at their friend Steve's. Having been up several days already, Mike spent the night doing coke and pouring out his financial woes to another friend named Mary Lee. In the morning, he gathered up Karen to go home, but she refused to leave with him. Mike took her cell phone under the pretense that it belonged to Night Moves LLC, and returned back to the Lindell home. Seeing his house in squalor, and oblivious to the reality that he and Karen were responsible for it, Mike started yelling at Lizzie, who was then 19, to help clean it up.
Well, she said, we are a dysfunctional family. Blood rushed to my head and I felt a pulse in my neck. What? I don't even know what that means, but don't you ever say that again.
After she left in tears, Mike then started berating 18-year-old Charlie for living like a pig. Charlie's room was in the basement, which had flooded that spring, and Mike had neglected to take care of the damage.
I don't remember what else I yelled, but Charlie started yelling too.
Darren tried to intervene when Mike found a pot pipe, smashed it on the floor, and started tearing into Charlie for using marijuana. Charlie pointing out his father's hypocrisy was enough for Mike to throw him out of the house.
Neither our kids nor their friends knew that the Lindell adults were addicts.
5 days later, Karen came by to demand he let Charlie back in. Mike agreed, then locked himself in his office and continuously did crack, somehow expecting her to return. After the power to his house was cut due to non-payment, he drove to Steve's twice and smashed a window after Karen refused to talk to him. He continued to show up at Steve's demanding to see Karen, and on May 1st, Steve called the police, only to be assaulted by Mike while on the phone. Fearful of arrest, Mike began hiding out at the nearby home of a friend named Rachel Moore, and the two soon jumped into a cocaine and crack-fueled rebound relationship. At one point, Mike called 911, falsely claiming Steve had kidnapped Karen, and Charlie ended up having to smooth things over with the police. 3 weeks later, they met in a parking lot to finalize their divorce. The cash-strapped, crack-addled, degenerate gambler assured Karen he would take care of her for the rest of her life. Mike swiftly bought another 4-acre property in Chaska with money he didn't have, and moved Rachel in with him. In the meantime, Charlie and Darren still lived in the Lindell house, which was facing foreclosure and had had the power cut off. Rachel and Mike fought frequently, and she moved out by the fall of 2007. Mike spent most of February 2008 holed up alone in the love shack he'd purchased for him and Rachel doing crack. He'd made a second appearance on cable access MCN6, and soon after, he received calls from an elderly woman, a boutique owner, and an atheist. All had seen him on MCN6, and all told him the same thing. God let me know what you're doing is important. The next caller told him, you have a platform, but I don't know what that means. Mike then got a mysterious voicemail in a female robotic voice.
Mike, this is a message from God. Everything you've experienced in your life will give you the strength to get through the next month.
Rachel moved back in, but soon after,
she had called the police on me for what I didn't know.
Rachel had filed a protection order in January 2008, alleging Mike had grabbed her by the neck, thrown her to the ground, and kicked her repeatedly. In an affidavit, Rachel outlined a pattern of violence leading up to the incident. In August 2007, she called the police after Mike had punched her in the face. Mike was able to convince the cops she was at fault, and Rachel received a misdemeanor charge for domestic violence. According to Rachel, the physical and verbal abuse escalated from there. On a trip to Laughlin in late 2007, Mike had blown through $3,000 faster than he had anticipated. When Rachel refused to give him more cash, he kicked her from behind, causing multiple rib fractures. On another occasion, Rachel alleged Mike refused to let her in the house to get her dog or her insulin. When she was able to gain entry, he started punching and kicking both her and the dog, along with attacking Rachel with a wooden dowel. Mike denies these allegations, but does concede a warrant was issued for his arrest. Mike talked with an officer on the phone who asked if he'd stolen Rachel's car. Mike denied he had, told the officer where he would have left it if he had stolen it, hung up on the officer, and hid out of the apartment of one of his dealers in downtown Minneapolis. After 2 weeks of Mike constantly smoking crack and yammering to them about MyPillow being a platform for God, his dealers cut him off. Mike would later frame the incident as an intervention by a community of dealers and addicts who saw him as their only hope. In March 2008, Rachel requested to have the protective order lifted because she and Mike want to seek counseling together. Rachel was now an employee of MyPillow. Mike moved 17-year-old Darren in with him and Rachel while continuing to use crack. Mike's sister Cindy had a premonition that MyPillow would be a platform for something bigger. That summer, Mike failed to turn profit from sales at fairs and home shows. So on September 12th, he returned to Vegas again to count cards. He was pulled over for speeding and arrested on an outstanding warrant from 1999 for a bounced check and an unpaid marker from the since demolished Stardust Casino.
My youngest son, he stood in the driveway and he just said, and his lips were quivering, he said, "Dad, I can't stay here anymore." For him to get to that point, there is no way that I could say anything for him to stay.
Darren soon had enough of life with his crack-addicted, short-fused father and decided to move in with Charlie. By December, Rachel had left again. Mike tells of a story around this time that is all but a carbon copy of a passage from the AA Big Book. An old using friend stops by out of nowhere to tell Mike he's found God.
What is this thing you found, Abby? Huh? Dame?
No. Actually, it's a form of religion.
Oh, Christ.
So I'm down and out in December of '08, and here he walks through my door and he says, "Mike, what's going on?" And I said, "Dick, what are you doing?" He goes, "The Lord led me here." He said, and he goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, as long as you're here," I said, "Dick, is it boring?" And he goes, "No, man, it isn't boring."
After hearing that recovery wasn't boring, Mike had found hope for the first time. Also around this time, Mike first met Dallas Yoakum, a blackjack dealer at the Riverside Casino. He felt an instant attraction.
Since Dallas was a casino dealer, it was easy to get to know her and we became friends.
In other words, Dallas was friendly to Mike because he spent a lot of time at her table. Mike immediately began pursuing her, but she repeatedly declined his advances. By the end of 2008, both houses had been foreclosed, and Mike got by through couch surfing and room comps at casinos.
I laid on Bruce's couch and offered what may have been my first genuine prayer. God, when I wake up, I don't ever want to have the desire for drugs or alcohol again. On Friday, January 16, 2009, I woke up on Bruce's couch and checked in with myself. Kind of like someone who takes a long fall, then lies there for a second to be sure they're all in one piece. Yes, I was all in one piece, and I could feel without question that my desire for drugs and alcohol was gone.
And that's it. If you or someone you know is struggling with substance use problems, now you know what to do about it. Mike did check into rehab once more after this. He was soon back living off his sister Cindy, who had a dream that Mike would meet some sort of angel figure. Mike started attending church services with her at Living Word in Brooklyn Park.
I love this church. And like we were saying, Mac and Lynn, Gloria and I go back a long ways. And I mean, the way you and I fly.
A lot of people think it's unbecoming for a preacher to live a life of luxury and to fly around in private jets. What's your response to that?
Very simple. It takes a lot of money to do what we do.
We waller around in the sky the way these guys fly.
And in March 2009, he began attending their outpatient program, Living Free.
God brings me to this treatment center at our church.
Mike credits the success of this treatment episode to it being faith-based.
He introduced Jesus to me in a bigger way, so I could rely on Jesus when I got out as my rock, rather than backing into, well, I don't want to hurt anybody again.
But the real benefit appeared to come from their enabling his victim complex, where being faced with the consequences of his actions had made no impact on Mike in the past.
I had done other treatment centers before where I got out and I relapsed. You know, I'd went to treatment centers in the 80s and where they sit there and you sit in the treatment centers and they got this counselor. Well, I'm going, okay, have you been where I've been? You know, I mean,
His counselor, Ray Ferroning, encouraged Mike instead to focus on the harm done to him by his parents' divorce.
We didn't talk about how much we did, how we hurt our family, how we hurt our kids. We went in there and the guy goes, the counselor says, "Oh, Mike, we want to talk about, you don't have to tell us how much drugs you did, and we all have our stories." So he said, "Let's talk about your father." And I go, "What do you mean my father?" I said, "Well, tell us about your father." They said, "Well, my parents divorced when I was 7, back when divorces weren't common, and I was put into a new school." And I said,
People are wounded, and the emotional wound is the problem, or trauma. Trauma really is a Greek word that means wound. So when people are emotionally wounded, it affects their personality, affects their decision making, it affects their perceptions, and then evil spirits can come in and exasperate in the area of someone's life that's unhealed. So many times when most demonization comes through woundedness. That's the main way people get demonized.
With his addiction now fully externalized, Mike was able to live free without the need to change any of his behaviors, attitudes, or core beliefs.
Mike comes in the first night and he tells me that he doesn't have a problem with drugs. He said he used to be a crack cocaine user, and he's gonna write a book, and he's gonna have this platform to change the world, and he's gonna help all these addicts. And the nature of the treatment world is a lot of dysfunctional, chaotic people, and I thought he was nuts.
Was there part of you that thought maybe he hadn't gotten clean?
I thought he was high. I mean, if you...
A phenomenon often seen in the early stages of recovery from substance abuse, typically within the first 6 months clean, is what's referred to as the pink cloud or honeymoon phase. The shifting equilibrium of dopamine and serotonin, as the brain attempts to settle into a new baseline, can result in an unrealistic optimism and bursts of manic ambition. With Mike, this expressed itself in a slew of largely baseless trademark violation lawsuits, which he breezily refers to in his book as the... Mike sued 3 competitors in the region for theft or copying of my product, brand, or persona. All 3 suits were eventually dismissed, but not before effectively killing off the competition by burying them in legal fees. Mike came to believe in the power of praying for favor after sales at the Des Moines Home and Garden Show in February 2009 turned out to be better than expected. In ramping up production, MyPillow grew to 25 employees. Charlie had recruited a number of his friends and soon took over as supervisor of production. In May 2011, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune ran a short human interest piece on MyPillow in their small business column that included that geeky picture I'd seen in my premonitions years before, me holding a MyPillow like it was a teddy bear. After seeing a boost in orders from the article, Mike began to conceptualize his personal image and story as part of the branding and marketing of MyPillow. After an ad buy with WABC Radio led to a guest appearance on Don Imus's talk show, Mike discovered the true power of the sponsorship dollar.
Occasionally, the sales department will say, "We have a client who wants to tell you about their product." And I think, oh, here we go again.
But Michael stepped up. We've been looking for a sponsor for a long time. He's supported us, and I want to do everything I can to support him.
In late August 2011, Mike put down tens of thousands of his family and friends' dollars to shoot the first MyPillow infomercial.
My friends and family, we had all put in our money and pooled our money. Some of them put in their life savings. I said, we're going to create the biggest infomercial in history.
The first production team he hired strongly encouraged him to consider using professional actors.
That's good.
So, how did you go about developing MyPillow?
Okay.
All right.
It's not just, what is it again? It's got the curb. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
From using MyPillow.
Was it me?
So he fired them. The second producer was more conciliatory and allowed Mike to ad-lib the spiel he developed working home shows.
You can turn this any way you want. You can make little balloon animals out if you want. Folded your pillows and done all this stuff and flip-flopped all night like a guppy. I'm not selling to these big companies that don't give a... Or they don't...
They don't care. They don't care.
They don't give a rat's ass. Well, they don't give a rat's ass.
What about this one?
This one here is Ruined America. Do not change that channel because the next half hour is going to change your life.
All right. Are we ready? I'm Tanya Waring, and I am so excited.
I love my life. I like my home. I like my kids. I like my life. I like my dress. I like my hair. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my uncles. Oh, I love my event.
And I am hosting a global teleconference twice a month where we actually learn the manifesting process in the 6 simple steps to create and get what you want.
I'd had success in my life as a successful real estate broker in 2 different states when the market crashed. I was one of those people who found myself going through foreclosure. What I didn't expect was to be going through my second divorce. I have 3 beautiful children to support. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. I remember spending a week putting together everything that I needed for welfare. And I tell people I didn't deserve welfare, meaning that I really felt I was better than that, but I didn't know what to do. And then imagine how I felt when I found out that I was even declined for welfare. So here I am, totally depressed, unsure what I'm going to do next. My heart was heavy. My mind started to, I just was so stressed that I thought I had beginning Alzheimer's. It was one of these days when the kids came home and they were kind of looking at me while I'm laying on the couch like, Mom, are you going to make us dinner, you know? And I'm like, oh, honey, just like grab some money and go to McDonald's. And it was about that time that I remember just being as authentically myself as I'd ever been. And I just kind of called out this prayer that said, you know what, God, I am smart, I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'm kind, I'm honest. I've always been great at sales. Could you please just bring me something that is worthy of who I am as a person, with that integrity, a product, something. And it was only a couple weeks later that the first product showed up. It's a product called Protandim, and it healed my brain. It kind of took care of the stress that my body was under. So I started to be able to think more clearly. And then it was just a few days after that that a friend of mine said that I should go work for a company called MyPillow. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize at the time that MyPillow was only 9 minutes from my house. And the rest is what they say is history. You know, a lot of times when we ask for something and we receive it, we go, hey, that's not the right thing. Because, you know, I was going, a pillow? Really? A pillow?
Really?
That's what you brought me. But with that pillow, I traveled the United States. I started to provide for my family. I tell you, I haven't felt this good since I was 16. I'll tell you that much. Just from, thank you. And we absolutely love, I love that it's made 100%.
I told you that before.
Yeah, maybe once or twice. Maybe once or twice, yeah.
You're telling me there's a chance?
Okay. It's $2,000 over top.
Okay.
Quiet, please.
On October 7th, 2011, the first MyPillow infomercial debuted at 3:30 a.m. on the Discovery Channel. Sales immediately exploded, and within 3 months, MyPillow went from 25 to 500 employees.
Welcome to MyPillow Show with host Lisa Hill, where we transform lives by inspiring others. We are here with Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO and founder of one of the fastest growing companies in America today, Carver, Minnesota. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Lisa.
This is a fantastic show sponsored by your company.
Yeah.
I know that you're growing so fast right now.
We're going to have, I guess you're going to have lots of different guests on here.
Yes, absolutely. So your company sponsoring this show to bring others, to inspire others, is truly what I believe you're all about.
Right. I have big visions, and I think everybody should. I think that you should never let your visions and your dreams, you got to keep dreaming no matter what. And and this, there's, my story in itself amazes me even, with all the things that have happened in my life and how God has helped me and get me through at different points in my life and almost on a weekly basis, and which most people would have given up. Most people would have done worse than given up. And and even through all that, not just giving up, I still have the dream where I'm at now. And I really did have that dream and really did have that, to be honest, I hear them all the time. I've been walking down the street now since I am recognized that they'll come up and tell me how it's changed their life. The pillow has actually changed their life, and whether it be just feeling better all around, feeling better, or it's been some disorder where it's helped relieve the symptoms of everything from fibromyalgia to migraines to headaches. Snoring problems, sleep apnea, all these different things. I mean, they even say, strokes, your diabetes, all these things are off things of bad sleep. And what I've learned from doctors and from the Sleep Association and from hearing from people how it's improved all these different disorders. And that even amazes me, because when I invented this pillow, I just invented it for my own comfort, and wow. It just spun off, and it helps so many people that it's still amazing. And which actually gave me the theory that I have of where sleep comes from, which I want to prove one of these days. Right.
And
well,
how
my
this pillow
theory,
helps.
my theory that I'm pretty proud of that. That's one of the things. After years of when your neck is just like the old-fashioned TVs that have the old dials with the horizontal hole.
Yep.
All of a sudden, ding, 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 and you have woke up. Your body has woke you up out of those because you've had a sleep interruption. That's unheard of in this, I think, anyway. I'm pretty proud of the MyPillow trademark. Just to get a trademark,
yes.
I did that myself, and it was one of the first My's in the United States, and I believe every My, spun off of that.
That is so cool.
Now it's my everything, my 29, my twin, my everything, and at first when I first said MyPillow, it sounded kind of geeky, but you'd always say, "Where's MyPillow?" Well, now it's become a reality.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, yeah, and.
But you're starting to open stores too now.
We have 7 stores open, and one down by you in Lincoln,
right.
and they're absolutely amazing.
You going to do more of those?
Yeah, we're going to be do more of those. I've grown so fast. I went from 40 employees to 650 in such short time here. I'm trying to figure out what HR departments are.
Yeah, you tell that story. That's a great story.
At the beginning of the year, MyPillow's bank account had a balance of $2 million. True to form, Mike saw this as his own personal piggy bank and began treating it as such. Mike wasted no time in using his good fortune to win over Dallas, the blackjack dealer at the Riverside he still pined for. In an affidavit, Dallas stated, "Mike had always told me he talks to God in his dreams, and that God told him I was supposed to work at MyPillow Incorporated." He offered the single mother an executive position with a very generous salary to persuade her to relocate from Nevada to Minnesota. He also hired on 2 of her adult children, along with a stepson and a niece, in hopes of keeping her from becoming homesick. While his motives were obvious, her outright disinterest in pursuing anything romantic with him prompted Mike to maintain a facade of a consensually platonic relationship. Meanwhile, Cindy attended a Christian conference in California where she met a 53-year-old Texan named Kendra Reeves. When she met her, Cindy immediately knew Kendra was the one. On June 8, 2013, Mike Lindell and Dallas Yoakum were married in a $100,000 ceremony at the Oak Ridge Conference Center in Chaska. 2 days after the wedding, according to Mike, Dallas moved out of their lakefront house. According to Dallas, she had discussed having her 2-year-old granddaughter live with them. Mike became apoplectic, nearly hitting the child, and chased the two off the property. Then, a couple weeks later, driving to Chaska from the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport, Dallas admitted, "I'm not in love with you. I never loved you. You're boring. We don't have anything in common, and you've ruined the last 2 years of my life." She returned to Arizona to live with her mother. A lovelorn Mike spent night after night in their empty lake home, listening to Chris Ray's "Fool If You Think It's Over" and Pablo Cruz's "Love Will Find a Way" endlessly. Six months later, he met with lawyers to settle the divorce. Thankfully for him, the MyPillow board of directors had the foresight to insist on a prenuptial agreement. According to Mike, he asked her,
"Dallas, why would you do this to me?" I said. She broke down, almost crying. "I know it was a mistake, Mike. I couldn't handle unconditional love. I don't want anything."
Generous to a fault, Mike gave her a settlement anyway, smiled and hugged her goodbye. Mike would later claim to learn through the grapevine that Dallas had been indeed scheming to get his money all along. On May 31st, 2014, Mike had hoped to cover his payroll through card counting, but ended up losing his stake once again. On the drive home, the voice of God told Mike twice that he was done with gambling. God then told Mike,
"I don't want anything. You will meet Kendra. She is the one. Through her, you will become closer to me."
In late July 2014, Cindy introduced Mike to Kendra in Laguna Beach. For the occasion, Mike had brought an oversized stuffed elephant as a gift. The joke being the elephant in the room was their inevitable nuptials. Kendra laughed, most likely out of awkward politeness. As it happened, Kendra had been praying for MyPillow for over a month and gave Mike a clairvoyant premonition.
"I sense there is a great drain on your company from the inside," Kendra said over lunch. "It's dire. You're about to lose everything. There are people high up in your company who are not your friends. They do not have your back."
One day in 2014, Mike visited AM 970 in New York for no apparent reason, where at random he met Stephen Baldwin.
What do I think about Alec Baldwin's impersonation of Donald Trump and SNL and everything they're doing? I don't want to be a party pooper here, but I don't think it's very funny. I don't think there's anything funny about this election. I think it's very serious, very important.
Stephen had made his mark on Hollywood with serviceable performances in Biodome and the Flintstones live-action remake, before following in the path of Kirk Cameron and embracing evangelical Christianity. Stephen and Mike soon became fast friends.
He's not afraid to say, "This is who I was. I was a wild man. I was out there in the world. I struggled with addiction. I struggled with finance." All kidding aside, when he says that about me, the same goes for me relevant to Mike.
And Stephen soon began introducing him to his evangelical friends.
And it's been a divine connection meeting Stephen, because it's opened so many doors and given me so many opportunities that I would have never had.
In early February 2015, Stephen invited Mike to attend the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C., where he quickly became absorbed by the political wing of the evangelical movement. In May 2015, Mike had a dream about getting his photo taken with Donald Trump in front of a wall with a bunch of photos hung. When Trump announced his candidacy the following month, Mike became convinced the dream was prophecy. Somehow Mark Taylor has yet to sue for plagiarism.
Our talk, when I came in to meet him, he goes, Mike, how are you doing? It's like talking to a best friend. And I had never, and it was...
On August 15th, 2016, Trump invited Mike for a meeting at Trump Tower, ostensibly wanting to discuss U.S. manufacturing. Trump singled out Lindell due to his increasingly ubiquitous advertising presence on conservative media outlets like Fox News. After the meeting, an enamored Mike proclaimed to the MyPillow board, "I'm all in for Donald Trump." MyPillow's corporate attorney advised him against doing so, stating it will cost MyPillow dearly. Mike nonetheless began regularly attending Trump events. He was present for the debate in Las Vegas, the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, and for Trump's election night watch party in New York City.
You were right. You knew this. You've been writing about this on Facebook for. You never doubted it.
I never doubted it, ever. There was too many. I had too many personal divine appointments where I got to meet Mr. Trump personally. I got to befriend Dr. Carson. It was just surreal. It was so incredible to be a part of history like that. This guy is a great man, a good man, and he is going to help. His heart. He's talked to me personally with private sector money to help. It's not going to just be Mr. Trump. It's the people he surrounds himself with. We're finally going to have a marriage between somebody that's never been in politics and politics. Mr.
Lindell, obviously, again, you got it right, and thank you so much for giving us this insight into a moment in history.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Towards the end of 2016, Mike produced what he called a documentary about his life. In truth, the Mike Lindell story, An American Dream, was nothing more than a 58-minute This Is Your Life segment shot on stage at the rented-out Pantages Theater in downtown Minneapolis.
And I'm just a regular guy from a small town in Minnesota that was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and
we're ripping foam with, by our hands on the deck of our house, just making pillows, and we give him one and come home the next day, I'm ready to go outside and play with my friends, and he says, nope, wasn't good enough, we gotta make another one. It's gotta be perfect.
Mike parades his visibly reluctant adult children, along with his card-counting buddy, Joe Piscopo.
The town and the state where he was from, Minnesota, I said, this is a good guy.
Hey, everybody. You having fun? I can't hear you.
And Stephen Baldwin.
In his heart, he's the kind of person that he wakes up every day thinking to himself like, okay, well, I got to do this. I got to do all the normal stuff. And, we got to make pillows and, we got to do this. And he's got a book coming out and a foundation.
I have a foundation, the Lindell Foundation, that's been helping my own employees and people in my hometown for the last couple of years. We're going to launch it this fall, and it's going to help millions. It's going to be everything you ever wanted in a foundation.
While veteran Twin Cities area journalist Jan Carl walks him through a heavily sanitized version of his life story that barely glosses over substance use and frames his gambling as whimsy.
Things just went snowballed, and with these addictions, it got to the point where even the drug dealers, I had 3 of them get together and they did an intervention on me. I'd been up for so many days, and they said, we don't even want you doing drugs. You're our only hope to ever get us out of this. This is what they were telling me. But he took this picture. He goes, give me your camera. I'm going to take this picture. You're going to need this. You're going to need it for your book. And he says, when you do, quit. And
he's off the stage.
All right, I couldn't believe my eyes when my Twitter on my phone blew up over MyPillow. The Chaska-based company you see in the infomercials all the time, that's what we're talking about. Yesterday, that company was downgraded by the Better Business Bureau from an A to an F.
MyPillow advertised the buy one, get one free, or as we call it, the BOGO offer, but they did it continuously.
We like to change it up, but this was so successful, we ran it longer than we would normally run.
And that violates not only the Better Business Bureau's rules, but it also violates the Federal Trade Commission's rules.
Is that because when you offer a sale for so long, it ceases to be a sale and it's now the regular price?
That's right. It becomes the regular price.
How long did that BOGO promo run?
I don't know. It's been successful this past year.
Well, why is it still up there today? I mean, you got your rating down scored from an A+ to an F, but it's still on your website.
You can't, right, because that's where my media, they have to find the square. Our ads on TV, this is for my customers, so they know where to pick the square, so they're not confused.
They said that they didn't really understand that that was a problem, but that they couldn't change it at that time.
Why not?
they felt that it would be too distressful for their company.
That sale.
You can't just stop everything. I've committed to media from around the country too, where I've prepaid, for media and paid for my spots. So, it can't, it'll end this month, and then we'll have all my new ads will come out, and I don't know what else to say on that.
On top of the BBB's F rating and $1 million settlement in a civil case in California alleging false advertising, MyPillow is also being sued in Oregon for allegedly misleading customers with its BOGO offer.
On July 17, 2017, President Trump invited Mike to participate in a roundtable discussion at the White House during his Made in America Week, an initiative to celebrate and promote U.S.-based manufacturing. Mike was visibly the most excited and nervous person in the room, and Trump threw him a confidence booster in the form of an off-the-cuff endorsement for MyPillow.
And Michael was a supporter of ours right from the beginning, which I really appreciate. It's good to see you here. It's fantastic. And I actually bought a couple of pillows, and they're very good. I have to tell you, they're great. I've slept so much better ever since.
The die is cast.
Are you going to show me some things? Let's go. Do you want to start, Michael?
What's that?
I think they're going to show some of the product.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, this is MyPillow. I have over 1,500 employees now, and I'm very proud that every part, even the cotton, is grown in the USA.
Even amongst Republicans, even amongst the president's core supporters, there's slippage here. How about for you?
There's no slippage for me, and polls are usually wrong.
So just for clarity, you're not under the influence of cocaine right now, right?
That's correct. This is my energy.
Just for clarity. So it's either crack or Jesus makes the difference.
That's right. That's right.
For you.
I'm on Jesus.
This guy with the pillows on Fox? My pillow guy, Mike Lindell. Where is Mike? He is the greatest. I have never seen so many ads for so long. And you know what? I think he gets them for like peanuts. First of all, he does make a great product, great pillows. I actually use them, believe it or not. But he's been a supporter from day one. And I said, I want you to be my ad buyer, because I guarantee you he makes great deals. So I haven't asked him yet. Will you be my ad buyer, please, Mike? The MyPillow guy. Thank you, Mike.
My book's called Against the Wind, and that says it all. I went through so many blockades and so many. The most people that know me you cannot imagine what has happened to me. I've always done stuff different than the normal public, and that's why my book's called Against the Wind. Yep. I mean, it's not going to be exactly what society says you should do, because it's not all, people are too busy taking the easy path. Well, okay, I can be lazy, go this way, and stay in the status quo, or I can go this way and make something happen.
Aren't you coming out with a book soon?
Yeah, I'm coming out with a book it's called Against the Wind. I've had many near-death experiences, and it's a never give up. It's a self-help, never give up book, and I had addictions back then that I overcame, and all kinds of stuff that I got through, and it's an amazing book. It's going to be an amazing book called Against the Wind by Bob Seger.
It's a great story.
I have a book coming out that I've been writing and living for years, and Stephen introduced me to his book writer that's finally going to help me get this to the finish line. And we're also going to make a movie based on the book, and the book's called What Are the Odds?
There it is, the brand new book, a magic book. Look at it. Look at it. Have you ever seen a book like that?
Then look, Mike as a boy.
I've never seen a book with, what do you call this?
Hologram.
Hologram on it. I think kids' books had them for a while.
Yeah.
Your spiritual advisor is here with us today.
Kendra, we love you.
We love her. Kendra, we're going to do something. Could you come up on stage a minute? Would you mind? All you kids stand up with me. I have 3 of my girls here, and Mondo, and Kendra, and we're going to bless this book today. This is the first off the press. we have asked that
Kendra.
Kendra come up here for this minute.
Yes.
We've got a big show to do today.
Yes.
But I want to bless this.
Yes.
And I wanted you to be a part of it.
She's
because
a
I know
mighty woman of God, a prayer
you
warrior.
have helped Mike so much, and you really have blessed him and pray for him and help him in so many ways. And
Yes.
we love you. You have just opened your heart to us coming here too as well. That's, oh Jesus, I feel your presence here.
I come into agreement with all these
Yes.
prayers, God, and we just thank you and praise you, God, that you
Yes.
bring salvations and hope, God. Even people that have been on drugs for years
Yes.
and years, God.
Yes.
God, would you
Yes.
encourage the people, Lord, that have prayed for 20 years, 30 years for their loved ones, hoping
Yes.
to see some sort of a breakthrough, God, that even the miracles, the miracle that you gave Mike, that they would have overnight deliverance from the desire for alcohol and drugs,
Yes,
God.
Lord.
We're asking in Jesus' name.
Jesus'
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Kendra.
And Kendra, thank you for coming up. And she's an amazing person. Sometime I'm going to have her on the show.
Oh, yes.
Interview her when she
Yeah.
lets me.
And Kendra, you know, the thing is about Kendra, too, is that Kendra has been a faithful partner to this ministry throughout the years.
Yes.
As a matter
Yes.
of fact, you know, a funny little story, behind the scenes story, Mike, I'm going to share. So the last time that Mike and Kendra were here, Kendra's just like going on and on and on to Mike about the ministry, and they do this and this and this and this before we were even sharing, right? And so Mike turns around to Kendra, because Kendra's in the back seat with me, and Mike turns around to Kendra and he goes, "Who are you?" Like, you know everything about them.
She always surprises me. She knows so much.
It's so sweet.
This book is really a remarkably detailed story of your descent into pretty desperate times. Why did you write it?
I wrote it. I knew for a long time I would end up writing a book because things happen to me all the time. You know, I've been working on this book basically all my life. You know, since I was a kid, I would keep things that would happen to me. I'm going, wow, this will be amazing in a book someday. And you know, it put 7 years of writing, but really it's been written my whole life. You know,
Yes.
it was like living inside of a movie.
I believe it could be a movie too. So maybe someday it'll be a
I'm
movie.
going to make a movie. I'm going to play myself. I love it. My backstory and the pains and everything went through that we all go through in our lives is going to give people hope to where I'm at now.
But I self-published. Pre-printed 3 million copies. Who does that, right? I even bought my own paper.
Why didn't I get the book done sooner? Well, I'll tell you what, my friends have all said, well, I thought this book's coming out. They've been saying that for years, but the story wasn't fully written yet. And I don't even know if it is fully written completely now. You're going to read this book, and you're going to read it as one of the best fiction novels ever written.
This is the story of one man's incredible journey. Now, the inventor and CEO of MyPillow is an American icon. Learn how Mike's 14 near-death experiences and heavy crack addiction led him from a place of total darkness into the light. Mike spent the last 7 years writing his book and decided to share his story to help bring hope and inspiration to everyone who reads it. Mike holds nothing back and takes you on his personal journey.
But now the game was over. The house had won. I was going to die right here on this deserted street, a small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
In 2019, Mike finally finished that book you've been talking about. And in the end, one thing about it is clear. Every word in the finished version of What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO is absolutely, positively, conclusively, with zero doubt in my mind whatsoever, written solely by Michael James Lindell. And like George Lincoln Rockwell, Mike refused to work with an editor.
We've dedicated 75% of my manufacturing to produce cotton face masks. Up to in 3 days, I was up to 10,000 a day. By Friday, I want to be up to 50,000 a day.
The mask that you're making, you actually don't wear a mask. You have actually proudly said that you don't need to wear a mask because you take this product.
That's correct, but I do wear a mask when I'm supposed to, and if I'm around other people, to be respectful, because they don't know that I can't give them that, and I cannot get the virus. This has already had all its safety tests, and it's before the
Sir,
FDA.
that is just a complete lie.
The FDA
That is just
has
a
all these studies.
bald-faced lie. It has not had.
It's not.
It's been tested in humans and peer-reviewed studies.
It's been tested in humans. 100% of tests has been done in humans, and it's not published yet, but the FDA has it right now. You just don't know about it because you tried to take a narrative and tried to hurt me and the president.
We've never seen such a divide and such hatred coming politically in this country, which seems to be getting out of control. Because that you have been supporting Trump, has that hurt your business in any way? Has that affected you in the MyPillow and the whole story?
I'll tell you what, my busiest day is always the day we're in. God has rewarded me for standing tall. Just when I always wear my cross on TV, I got attacked for that too all the time.
Jane Krakowski is addressing a bizarre rumor. Check this out about herself. According to Jane's rep, there is absolutely no truth to this at all, saying, quote, she's more likely to have a relationship with Kermit the Frog. Both Jane and the MyPillow guy say they have never met.
On January 21st, 2021, the Daily Mail published an article claiming Mike was in a secret romance with 30 Rock actress Jane Krakowski. Both categorically denied the report, but by this time, Mike was already being courted by a new suitor.
Our guest today, his name is Brandon House.
Yes.
And you are in for a big, big treat.
We're here with Brandon House of the Worldview Weekend. And you mentioned in your message how important it is to consider that we have a constitutional republic. So why is that important when it comes to an actual Christian worldview?
Well, because the very foundation of our country, being a constitutional republic, William Blackstone said, was this: in the instance of murder, murder will always be wrong because God has ruled, thou shalt not murder. So William Blackstone said we never overrule the law of the divine. If the divine's ruled on it, we don't rule against him. So in the instance of murder, murder will always be wrong. He went on to say, in the instance of exporting wool to France, the divine is silent, so go right ahead and do that, no problem. So all of our laws have to be consistent with the character and nature of God, otherwise we're overruling the divine and actually violating the very form of government that we have, bringing in what would be a democracy or the rule of the 51%, which is really socialism.
Brandon Stewart House was born April 26, 1969 in Mississippi, along with a twin sister, Heather. Growing up, Brandon struggled with dyslexia and was heavily steeped in evangelical values. By age 21, he was living in St. Paul, Minnesota, where he married a 20-year-old from Illinois named Melissa K. Hoffman in 1991. Brandon traveled the country delivering sermons and holding seminars, focusing on the corruption of youth through the education system and the media.
Due to his expertise in family values, family issues, he's been a guest on over 600 radio and television programs. You know, you've authored a lot of books. Can you tell us a little bit about all of your wonderful books?
Well, I wrote One Nation Under Man with a question mark, subtitle The Worldview War Between Christians and the Secular Left. And what I'm looking at is the impact of secular humanism on our culture. But I'm most excited about my recent book, which is Christian Worldview for Children, subtitled How to Train the Heart and Mind of a Child to Follow Christ.
The culprits behind this were, of course, the usual ambiguous mix of communist and occult forces that made up the one world order from biblical prophecy. In the 2000s, Brandon began holding conferences he called Worldview Weekend that featured an increasingly conspiratorial flavor of evangelism.
Let's implement socialism, and the way to do it is to collapse the economy.
Following the election of Barack Obama in 2008, Brandon's writings steered further towards the communist globalist conspiracism that informed the Tea Party movement.
And our president, as a community organizer, which is the phrase started by Saul Alinsky, taught Saul Alinsky's philosophies for several years in Chicago. Hillary Clinton wrote her paper, her thesis on Saul Alinsky, actually met the man. Saul Alinsky dedicated his book to Lucifer.
A lot of what I'm saying today in this talk is in my book, Grave Influence, 21 Radicals and Their Worldviews That Rule America from the Grave. and it's 368 pages, over 300 footnotes, tons of footnotes to document everything that I'm presenting about these 21 radicals and their philosophies that are ruling America from the grave. We've put it onto 2 DVDs. We have 2 DVDs, Grave Influence Part 1, Grave Influence Part 2, and Part 3. You can buy them individually. I also, this last December, read Grave Influence into audiobook. So we have 10 hours of my reading Grave Influence onto audiobook, and that's available out there. And you'll notice that our prices are very cheap.
Having hinged his own identity and self-worth on Donald Trump, Mike was unable to reconcile the implications of an election loss. To Mike, widespread vote tampering made for a more palatable explanation, and he did nothing to hide his desperation for validation of any sort.
These kind of men really draw to you because of, again, what you stand for. And Cheryl and I really, many thousands of people appreciate what you're doing. You speak up, don't you?
Well, we try to speak up based on what the Bible has to say. You know, the opinion of Brandon House isn't worth much at all. But the Bible is the authority, and the Bible says that the Word of God would never fade, it'll never wither like the grass. It'll be there forever, and it's truth. And it's truth because, well, the Bible is a reflection of the character and nature of God.
On a conference call with Brannon, a mystery woman who identified herself as Mary Fanning claimed to have digital forensic evidence of vote swapping. Mike was shown a demo of software that approximated what these attacks might have looked like.
Wow, what's going on here with all these lines?
But in his excitement, Mike took this to be a visualization of the actual proof they had purported to have, and was overly eager to get this newfound revelation out to the world. Brandon had a fair amount of experience in video production.
Hello and welcome to House. I'm Brandon House.
And I'm Melissa House.
And this is our first episode. We've been married almost 30 years. 29 years this next February.
Has it really been that long?
It has. Plus we were dating. So
That's
I've been
right.
eating chicken steaky-uppy at your mom's house for probably 30 years.
And it's one of your favorites, right?
It is one of my favorites. See, I like something my mother-in-law does. Actually, I like many things my mother-in-law does. She's makes many things I like. So this is one of them. I got this from my mother-in-law.
Before my generation jumps fully on board with the support of socialism, they might want to jump on board a boat and tour Lake of the Ozarks and see what capitalism built for the enjoyment and betterment of millions of Americans.
All right, now we're going to be joined by my 16-year-old son. Come on over here, Logan. This is his first time on television. We had to kind of twist his arm to get him to do this. And he's going to make, what are you making, buddy?
Guacamole.
Guacamole. The only thing is, he's a good kid for the most part. He's 16.
For the most part.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I mean,
He's a good kid.
So far, so good. He's on the straight and narrow. So far, so good. But we, only thing you disobeyed me is you've gotten taller than I am. So that's not good. But anyway, we'll deal with that later. I don't think I've ever had it. What does it taste like?
Why don't you try it?
Try it.
Yeah, just try it a little
You need a
bit.
chip or something.
Color, the consistency is
You need a chip.
You might
Something
not
kinda
like it.
weird
You're so
about
picky.
And then
you
I
liked
put,
it, right? You liked it.
And then what is that? You just put on there the white stuff.
sour cream, yeah.
In addition to Worldview Weekend's radio and web shows, he began producing what he called docu-movies, such as Brainwashed America and Siege. Mike Lindell released Absolute Proof on February 5th, 2021.
We filmed this in 3 days and we post-edited it in 3 days. So the whole thing was done in 6 days. There were 2 other companies that were asked would they consider doing this. Both of them turned it down. One of them said there's just no way you could do that. And then when Mike Lindell and Mary Fanning, who I'd been working with, and we'll tell you how, came and said, hey, you know what, we think, we know you're really busy with everything else you have going on, cranking out all the TV shows and everything you're already doing. So we kind of hesitant to ask because your work schedule's already crazy, but would you be willing to do this? And I said yes. And it turned out that I got a phone call from one major broadcaster. I mean, everybody would know his name if I said it. And he said, I want to congratulate you. He said, when Mike said something about doing this, I said to him, tell the guy in Memphis, good luck. And so it was a major national leader, a talk show host that didn't think it could be done. And Nick, to be honest with you, when we started this project, I didn't realize they wanted it done in 6 days.
Yeah.
I thought, well, maybe 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, even that would be huge. But we had to work 21-hour days. And then then the last day was 24 hours. But I think when they watch it, people will be shocked at the quality of the production and the content.
And you also got this playing on, what is it called? OANN.
One American News. One
And
American News.
It was like playing around the clock.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I remember in the past, you've had some difficulty getting them to accept your stuff. Well, they were sure interested in this.
They sure were. And I don't know why in the past, a little 15-second spot was about our documentary Siege was an issue. I should have probably pursued that more. Now that I've gotten to know some of them, I think I could have, gotten that taken care of, but I just took the no and kept moving. But yeah.
Michael James Lindell has purchased the airtime for the broadcast of this program on One American News Network. Mr. Lindell is the sole author and executive producer of this program and is solely and exclusively responsible for its content.
Mike purchased time on One American News Network to air the docu-movie, who were sure to include a lengthy disclaimer ahead of it.
The results in the 2020 presidential election remain disputed and questioned by millions of Americans who are entitled to hear from all sides in order to help determine what may have happened.
Hello, everyone. This is Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. As you all know, I have been attacked the last month relentlessly on social media, by newspapers, by TV shows, by you name it, I've been attacked. And myself, not just myself, but my company. The boycotts that are going on, box stores are dropping me, social media, they canceled my Twitter. Today, they canceled MyPillow's Twitter account, my company's Twitter account. And what I've told everyone out there is, you know what? I've seen evidence. I've been trying since November 4th to prove, to show what's out there. Why are these deviations that happened on election night? None of it made any sense. So I dove all in with everything I had, resources. Anytime I heard something that maybe was relevant, I went and said, looked into it, did my own due diligence, had even my own investigations. Well, on one day, I think it was like January 9th, all of a sudden, they brought me some a piece of evidence that's 100% proved. It's like a print of inside the machine of the timestamp that showed other countries attacking us, hacking into our election through these machines, and it shows the votes flipped. And I'm going, wow, I got to get this out there. We're going to have 100%, you're going to see all this evidence that by the time you're done seeing it, you're going to go, wow, 100% it proves exactly what happened, that these machines were used to steal our election. Well, everyone, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. What you're going to see now is 100% proof that we had upon our country the biggest cyber attack in history. And I'm going to bring on Mary Fanning to explain how it all happened and show you the 100% proof. Mary, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Mike. If you look at this chart, is that there were cybersecurity experts who began collecting information, that they were collecting documentation. In fact, they collected terabytes of information that document the election fraud. And you look at all the multiple intrusions into our election, what you'll notice that over 60% of these intrusions come from China.
Yeah. So what you have here is what each one of these is its own timestamp that is 100% proof, because you have that not only where it came from, you have their identification. Everyone was Donald Trump down. When I said, and I actually told the president when I met with him, I said, you actually won this election by almost 80 million votes for you, for Donald Trump, to about 68 million for Biden. I mean, this is incredible, everybody. This is historical proof, too. We not only have, this is what we've all been waiting for. And Mary, you said there's a video, too, we want to show?
Yeah, this is a documentation, the proof positive, by cyber expert from in this country.
Mike followed this up on April 21st with Absolute Interference, featuring mega darling and retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn.
Well, here's what came. On February 5th, when I left this studio that morning, and this launched at 9 a.m. on February 5th, here's what happened. First of all, crickets. No media called me. They didn't call. They didn't write. Nothing. So every day they're mocking me in the news. They're mocking me on late night TV. Jimmy Kimmel, he was great at, making fun of the evidence. It's conspiracy. Mike Lindell's nuts, all these things. Well, then it goes up on Facebook. And what does Facebook do? They put a sign over it that says contains nudity and profanity. They did this big attack on this evidence. But tonight, I, for the first time, am going to see stuff that I've heard is the most amazing evidence to add on to what we already have, the 100% proof times 2. It's going to be a great, great, great 2 hours.
Over the weekend, Republicans gathered at Mar-a-Lago to discuss the possibility of a social media platform made for conservatives to rival Facebook and Twitter. That is according to CNBC.
Mike Lindell is also weighing in on the matter. He says the new platform will serve as a Judeo-Christian free speech platform, sans cursing or pornography. Let's take a listen.
Now, people ask me, Eric, they said, you're going to let everything go, porn and swearing and everything? I said, absolutely not. You can't, you're not going to have porn up there. You're not going to have these sites that contain material that go against our Constitution, go against what our founding fathers put in there. You're not going to be able to swear. There'll be 4 words for sure you can't say. You can't say the C word, the N word, the F word, and you can't use God's name in vain. What a concept, right?
So what I say is take what's common to the culture, turn it into a pulpit.
That came to an end. And John Wayne goes on to report that within a few weeks, they had recouped the millions of dollars it took to produce the Green Berets.
Hello.
So there's a...
Hello, Shannon. I'm here with Donald Trump. Yep. He would like to speak to Mike, please. We're at the club right now. 1 moment, please. Thank you. Thanks, Shannon. He'll have to call you back from his number live. He can't call into this line. It goes to 6 different assistants. Can I call back in a few minutes with Mr. Trump? Yep. I'll let Okay, him if know. you can let him know 2 to 3 minutes. Mr. Trump only has a 5-minute window for this, okay? Okay. Thank you, Shannon. Bye-bye. All right, is he back?
When's he going to call?
I'm not on mute.
He's talking about it! He's doing it!
How about now? Am I live now? All right, I forgot to unmute. Sorry about that.
He's doing it! No!
All right.
Did you hear him
Now
say?
we're joined by Dr. Simone Gold.
Where's the cord that'll go in here?
We can use right here.
He's signing up to talk to Trump!
Wait a minute, wait.
No, dude, he's doing it!
They're pushing the lady on.
We may have to break
No.
in for a special
Shush.
guest. But if we do, Dr.
Special
Gold,
guest.
we'll come, just stay there. Don't go anywhere. But joining us now is
No.
American Frontline Doctors is Dr. Simone Gold.
All right, I know what I'm going to do.
And we got about 18
I'm just going to have Donald Trump say hello, and then I'm just going to be like, macronshow.com, bitches. It's got to be done. I've got to take the shot. Sorry. Right, Ray, I'm calling in. Can you say, I have Mr. Trump on standby? Just that, okay, Ray? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. I think we got
Hello.
here with a guest.
Hello, yes, I have Mr. Trump on standby. Are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone.
We have the president here, our real president, everyone. Hello, Mr. President.
Macronshow.com, bitches. Macronshow.com. We own you, you fucking crackhead. Macronshow.com. Oh, fucking.
Play it back, quick.
Educated lawyer.
All right. I think we got.
Oh, yes.
We got breaking news here with a guest.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
We have the president here, our real president, everyone. Hello, Mr. President.
Macronshow.com, bitches.
All right.
I
Sorry,
guess
folks.
you see what they're doing? They're attacking us.
More attacks. They're attacking. Poor guy. He's so excited. But Trump, hopefully the real Trump will call in. Hopefully a dozen fake Trumps will call in, and then the real Trump will call in. You haven't been home for a couple of months, back home in Minnesota. Is this true? Tell me if I have this wrong.
No, that's right. I've been working hard on this, the election and the machines and
the machines. And we've heard a lot about the machines. But you were worried that someone is trying to kill you.
Well, I've had threats, many threats.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
You have said repeatedly that you're bringing this evidence, and that I assume you haven't seen this evidence. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it, or I would have. That these guys brought me over here. Now, realize, Jimmy, the only reason I have the evidence is because I became a voice after January 9th, where they're going, hey, we've tried to get this out there, and nobody had.
Do you ever, how did this happen to me? I must be special. But I'm going to suggest to you that maybe it's a coincidence, and that maybe this information that you have, that you believe in, I mean, let's be honest, your website doesn't even really work so well. Why would you think that you have broken this code of all people.
It wasn't me that broke it. They brought it to me.
But
and
these
this was on
people
Jimmy
are
Radio.
not.
The only reason they did, Jimmy, is because I have the voice.
I also think there's something going on from the crack or something that has, whatever, that has made you think. I mean, you mentioned paranoia.
Now, if I didn't have this evidence, Jimmy, it'd be different. But I have it. It's real. So people can say, oh, you're an ex-crack addict, so your brain's not right. Well, you know what? They can say all they want. It's going to come out.
Well, the man behind MyPillow has big plans for the Mitchell Corn Palace. Mike Lindell told a conservative podcast host that he plans to relaunch his new social media site at the South Dakota tourist destination. The official relaunch of Frank's speech is scheduled for May 10th. Lindell attempted to launch the site earlier this month, but had technical issues. Happening right now, the CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, is hosting a rally at the Corn Palace in Mitchell. And this is what the line looked like from our live cam right before the doors opened to the Corn Palace. You can see the line of people at the bottom of the picture. Lindell is relaunching his social media site called Frank Speech. He is a vocal supporter of President Trump and has repeatedly touted baseless claims of voter fraud. Dominion Voting Systems filed a defamation lawsuit against Lindell, saying he falsely accused the company of rigging the 2020 presidential election.
Hi everybody, this is Tammy with Rapid Fire Radio. We are in the beautiful Mitchell, South Dakota at the Corn Palace. So we're hours away here from starting with Mike Lindell and some other guest people. If you come on down here, everything is free. You can get in for free. The building holds 3,500 people. You can get a free book and a free video from Mike Lindell's book and the video that he has. So it looks like there's plenty of room left, you guys. Come on down while you can get in and see Mike Lindell and some other surprise people, you guys. We'll keep you posted on what's going on.
How about this too? I never understood it. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Who writes this stuff?
On June 12th, he held a rally in New Richmond, Wisconsin.
It's an amazing lineup.
Who's your favorite with the lineup?
Probably Mike Lindell.
Well, we're just excited to see Mike.
He speaks the same truth that we believe.
Mike is a true hero.
What is Mike Lindell talking about that you agree with?
Well, just the whole fraud of the election. He's got the proof. The proof is there.
I told the whole country a month and a half ago that Donald Trump will be back in August.
Is this helping, Mike?
This here is
ginning all this
This
up.
is I already have the evidence. You know what this is doing? Do you guys get it?
It's perpetuating anger, fear, and attacking our democracy.
You know what? You are by saying that. Let me tell you something. This is a free speech rally.
Have you heard about the death threats?
On me?
On Secretary of State, Georgia?
On me.
I'm saying there are people, because of the conversations that are happening, the elongation of this process, who are now being threatened.
You're talking about Brad Rassenberger?
Yes.
Brad Rassenberger and Brian Kemp were in on this. Are you kidding? They're as compromised as they come.
Why are these Republicans compromised?
I don't know.
If August doesn't happen, what do you say to these people?
The states are going to all pull it down because they're doing audits in every state. Pennsylvania's doing us. They're doing here in Wisconsin. Maricopa will get done.
Like watching that Bigfoot show. They don't find Bigfoot at the end, but if you tune in next week, maybe it's going to happen. Thank you.
You guys are horrible.
I wanted to talk about his pillows.
He launched his own network, which he dubbed Lindell TV, where he hosts his own weekday commentary show with Brannon called The Lindell Report. Lindell TV also features talk radio and podcast-style content from Brannon, Steve Bannon, and other figures from the right-wing influencer sphere, like Diamond and Silk.
Don't forget to visit MyPillow.com.
Oh, yes.
And patronize our patriot, Mike Lindell. And when you patronize him, you want to use code Trump1.
Yes.
On July 20th, Mike released a third docu-movie, Absolutely 9-0, in which he laid out what he believed would be a case so ironclad the Supreme Court would have no choice but to overturn the results of the 2020 election.
What are these? Is this cyber forensics? What are we looking at? What are these called? I know I know you had told me before they're called like PCAPs or something.
Yeah, so PCAP is just an acronym for packet capture.
You heard it here, people. You heard it here, everyone. What a blessing it is that we have the evidence.
He put out a fourth docu-movie, Scientific Proof.
We're going to have an hour interview here with Dr. Frank, and welcome. I mean, what you showed me before, I want everybody to see in this hour. These are the ballots of people that voted.
Right, the red curve.
There's the registered.
Yep.
And there's the population.
Yes. By the way, did you notice those 2 bumps again?
Yeah, there's those 2 bumps again. We have enough evidence that we're going to dump for the next 6 weeks on the whole world and the country.
Tells you something. It's breadcrumbs.
That by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, they're all 9 going to go 9-0. Yes.
On August 10th, Mike held a 3-day cyber symposium.
We are under. Let's see here. Okay. We probably expected this, so we have a backup plan. They're hooking up now. This was attacked. The whole technology was attacked. We expected that, but we do have a backup plan. It'll be probably another 5 minutes. Now, if you're attacked with free speech all the time.
Despite large projection screens displaying matrix-like scrolling binary code,
I have the evidence and I have validated with the best in the world. Why did I wait? Why am I having this? To pierce that media. And why do I have to do that when I already have it proven? Why?
You're saying that for 8 months we've been living in a sort of Chinese-occupied country.
They're in all facets.
So what's the most convincing part of that? When you say that China's occupying every facet of American government,
well,
I can't imagine what you'd be like on crack. It's just very, very high volume. Yeah.
Well, crack's a different drug than cocaine. Crack's very paranoid. When I was on cocaine, it's about like this.
So what I've seen here is packet capture stuff that we're supposedly looking at, these hex values. What is your initial read on that?
So you see that scrolling display that was at the kiosk there of scrolling hexadecimal, purporting to be packet captures. We don't have access to those. And that's a big failing that we're all very frustrated with, that he invited us here to look at packet captures, and he has not given us any packet captures.
Just visually what you see these hex values.
We watched the movie The Matrix, where you have that cascading text. That scrolling hex is meaningless to us. So there's nothing meaningful in what's been shown so far that we can make any sense of.
Have you seen any evidence that's convinced you of kind of, shenanigans?
I haven't seen evidence.
None,
zero. So the evidence has been zero.
One Colorado election official was attending the event when it was announced she was under investigation herself for allegedly compromising the security of county voting systems.
You're bruising me. Let go
Stop
of me.
pulling against us.
I'm not pulling against you. Let go of me.
Then stand up like an adult.
Shut up. What an asshole thing to say to me. What an ass thing to say to me.
There's a law enforcement. They're always gonna win. That's your
Do
game.
me a favor. Do me a favor. Let go of me. You're hurting me.
On February 8th, a clerk for Mesa County, Colorado, named Tina Peters, was arrested for illegally obtaining and disseminating private voter data. Mike is alleged to be one of the recipients of the data, and he is alleged to have assisted Peters in evading authorities.
I can talk in her ear. No, you need to just back, ma'am. Let go.
Let's walk over here and put her in the car.
Obviously, they didn't arrest me. You know that it's kind of, Brandon, you heard me say for the last weeks now, how come they don't come and get me? I have all the evidence to show them. Well, today I thought my prayers were answered, but no, they wouldn't take me.
You mean you asked them to arrest you?
Oh, yeah. Well.
On September 14th, Mike was returning from a duck hunting trip in Iowa when he stopped for lunch at Hardee's in Mankato. FBI agents executed a search warrant and seized his phone. Hardee's social media director made the most of the situation with a backhanded dig at Mike's plight.
The FBI, we now know, they took the pillow phone at the Hardee's drive-thru. Just to set the context, do you frequently go to Hardee's? Is that a common place you go?
Okay, that's pretty funny, David.
No, it's not a joke.
But, I was coming back from a hunting trip, and I was late to get back. I was filming commercials with my entrepreneurs for mystore.com.
I'm curious, because there's a question of how they knew you would be there. Do you often go to Hardee's? It's not a joke.
He's the greatest buyer of television ads in history.
Mike Lindell. Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Apparently, we're still having to deal with last May's primary election, or at least some people would like us to. Specifically, Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, who has feathered himself into election integrity issues across the country.
Do you have eyes, or did you have eyes perhaps on Idaho's primary for governor? I know Trump endorsed Janice, I think Meechin is how you say her last name. She lost to the petty tyrant Brad Little to like an 8-to-1 ratio. And I haven't talked to one person that said they voted for Brad Little.
Not one person. Well, apparently Connor has seemed to avoid the 148,213 Idahoans who did vote for Governor Little. And it's McGeehan, by the way.
Tell you about an upcoming event I have that's going to change this country and the world forever. And it's August 20th and 21st. So if you can roll that first, please.
In August 2022, Mike held another conference, the Moment of Truth Summit, in Springfield, Missouri, where he claimed the full evidence would be revealed.
When these couple of days are over, you're going to see stuff that's going to shock the country, shock the world.
We thought we would start off by just worshiping God this morning. And if I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but whoever wants to join in.
Once you see what we've seen and you know what we know, you never go back.
I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. Just a second.
Now, people can sit there and the fake news media can say, what does Mike Lindell know about stuff? He makes pillows or whatever. Well, and he's an ex-addict. Well, I did take calculus in 8th grade.
Okay, just bear with us. This is last second and...
I don't know if we have volume here.
God, I just want to say in the name of Jesus, I renounce witchcraft in Jesus' name. We come out of agreement with all witchcraft in Jesus' name.
At that point, we all, I'm not sure what video this is. I guess we'll, oh yeah, here we go. Okay.
Freemasonry, black magic, sorcery. We don't want any part of it in Jesus' name. Get out in the name of Jesus by the blood of Jesus.
I'll start talking, then I'll play it again. Hopefully you have volume for it.
You cannot stand before the one true living God. In the name of Jesus, get out.
Here's Bill Barr's letter to the, if we get it up on the big screen here.
We call forth the righteous judges. We call forth the people that will be willing to take a stand and take the heat and be persecuted for righteousness' sake.
And then we're going to have the trial of the machines, okay?
We're interrupting this program for a special live report.
In early 2023, Mike ran for chair of the RNC.
Well, I got into running. I announced at the end of November. I talked to big donors. I was very upset with the RNC raising money on election integrity. And
on January 25th, he got to participate in one debate for the position.
And then the chairman, Ronna McDaniel, came out and said that the election was fine. There was no problems. And I was not happy with that. So they just took off and headed over to Georgia to raise more money and say, we're going to win over here. Just give us more money. And Herschel went, another loss, right? So he got 5 losses in a row. Okay.
His other opponent, Harmeet Dillon, sent a surrogate.
Harmeet is only here not here today because she does not set the schedule of this meeting, but they scheduled the Election Integrity Committee meeting at 1 and the Budget Committee meeting at 2, and those are both things that Harmeet sits on.
And incumbent Ronna McDaniel did not attend at all.
Mike Lindell received 4 votes, Harmeet Dillon received 51 votes, and Ronna McDaniel received 111 votes.
Hoping to appease Mike's followers, McDaniel allowed Mike to head the newly formed Election Crime Bureau.
You seemed, by my count, very confident that you had a chance to win this thing. Let's look at the tape.
I'm running for chairman of the RNC, and I plan on winning. And you know what? I plan on winning. I want to win that RNC chair. We're ahead in every single poll out there. I'm 100% all in. And when I go all in to win. I just want to win, everybody. Not only am I going to win, but it's going to change real fast.
Are you confident that you can win?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of them are going, do you think you can win? Do you think you can win? Of course I'm going to win.
and Ronna McDaniel received 111 votes.
Now, does this seem like an indication that maybe your barometer when it comes to voting is off?
Minnesota-based pillow manufacturer MyPillow has fallen on hard times. Following claims made by company CEO Mike Lindell regarding the 2020 election, several retailers and shopping networks stopped doing business with the company, which Lindell says has led to sales falling some $100 million.
On July 13th, Mike auctioned off hundreds of pieces of MyPillow's manufacturing and office equipment. I got to attend the open inspection the day before, and I was able to sneak some footage from inside the last days of the MyPillow Shakopee factory. Aside from the overwhelming sense that Mike was liquidating everything he could, I found some interesting glimpses into the life of a MyPillow employee. One thing in particular that caught me off guard was the bank of about 24 massage tables up for bid.
And I just pray, God, that you will bring people together, God, even from different groups that didn't want to connect or get together or talk. And that as a result of this event, that after this, God, that they will begin to come together in a common goal and a common heart, God, to have safe and secure elections in this nation, God.
On August 16th, Mike held his third annual conference in Springfield, Missouri. The purpose of the Election Crime Bureau Summit would be to reveal his plan to preserve election integrity.
Thank you all. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. This historical election summit is so important that it's being broadcast around the world in 85 languages on frankspeech.com. This election summit is not going to be about more evidence. We have enough evidence. Evidence has been the easy part. This summit is all about hope and the plan to secure our elections immediately. I want you to watch this video and see if you all remember this.
They're attacking his power grid.
No, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong one. Hold on. Well, that's coming. The Rose Garden speech. And this plan to secure our elections immediately has been worked on for over a year. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Time, we will reveal it to the world, and it won't matter who you are, you will embrace it unless you are part of the evil. This will sift out the evil too, because we're going, you don't like this? You're part of the evil.
This is bilberry extract, grapeseed extract, red wine extract, and pine bark extract. Now, I developed this a few years ago, as I said, and I've been taking this actually for several years. I've been taking this. All right, so you go to mystore.com, use promo code PLAN. Go to mypillow.com, use the promo code PLAN, get great products, and support Mike Lindell and his great work. Thank you, folks.
Hello, everybody. Everybody, you'll see this in a little bit, everybody.
He needs this connection. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, is he coming out here right now?
Yeah, you want him out here right now?
Yeah, tell me. I don't need this, do I?
Keep it up there. Just
okay. All right, everybody, this is a moment we've been waiting for. If you're watching from, I'm going to say hello to everyone watching from around the world. We're streaming in 85 languages. We have been told this by every. Hello? Okay, there we go. Well, what if I told you that there was a device that's been made for the first time in history that can tell you that that machine was online?
The plan turned out to be a product called the wireless monitoring device,
Special delivery, everybody! Special delivery!
which Mike demonstrated by flying a drone over the crowd. His idea was for his WMDs, which would cost no more than $500 a unit, to be placed at every polling place in the country to detect internet connectivity on polling machines. Citizen sleuths could upload their findings to Frank Social for real-time crime monitoring.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special night of the Lindell Report. We're going to go till 10 o'clock tonight. We have so many things in store for you. Besides the devices, the WMDs, I have my own here, and we'll be showing you that this hour, what everybody's out there in the field with these wireless monitoring devices.
On November 7th, Mike was able to test out his system in the off year elections around the country, while he proclaimed to have found evidence of voter fraud in nearly every election that didn't have his preferred outcome. It's uncertain if any formal challenges will come out of Mike's efforts.
All right. Joining us now is the host of the Lindell Report, Mike Lindell. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Brandon, we had a little emergency here. My cross, that you always see me wearing, actually broke. I hooked it on something here as I was going on my show. And so that was an emergency.
You had to go get another one. You had to go get another one.
No. This is the only one I have. This is 15 years old.
Oh.
This is my cross necklace. This isn't a lapel. This is the real deal here on the so that was an emergency. We almost had to miss the show. It's quite a story behind this cross, actually. If you read my book, it was on me when where the book opens down in Mexico, and it's quite a story.
Where you got threatened with a sword.
That's right, and it actually hit the cross, so that's
wow, pretty
amazing. But anyway, and everybody, and thanks for starting us off, Brandon. You guys, this is Cyber Monday. Well, Brandon, that's cyber. We're celebrating. I deal with a lot of cyber experts over the last 2.5 years. We're experts here on Cyber Monday. Logan, do you have that picture that I made there? Were you able to trim that yet?
Yes, sir.
There it is, everybody. Look at those that cyber special. This is the MyPillow 2.0. You're going to save 50%. This is what everybody has been buying. This is where, at MyPillow, remember, we're an employee-owned company. We've been under attack for almost 3 years, but especially during the last 3 months because of all the plan we have to secure our elections. You get free shipping on your entire order, everybody.
Today, according to Mike Lindell, he's flat broke. Between the swarm of lawsuits he initiates, the billion-dollar defamation suit he's facing from Dominion voting systems, and the money pit that is Frank's speech, Mike has spent over $65 million trying to bend reality. As quick as he is to use his employees as human shields, Mike gives no indication he truly cares about the fate of his company at this stage. But as we've learned, this is nothing new for Mike. Throughout his whole life, the only thing of his own Mike ever risked was his physical safety. Everything he built came off whatever he could wheedle out of those around him, and everything he destroyed, someone else absorbed the cost. Whatever comes of MyPillow and the employees who contributed to its success will ultimately have no bearing on Mike Lindell. He's too deep into his addiction, and his dealers have no incentive to cut him off this time. Despite Mike's high public visibility these days, he and Kendra have stayed hush-hush about their marital status. The two did complete a bridal gift registry at Macy's, which shows a wedding date of April 23rd, 2023. Mike is spotted soon after wearing a wedding ring. I'd already reached out to multiple states for confirmation without success.
I do not have a marriage license or Lindell, and on that wedding date, Lindell. No one pulls up.
Maiden name is Reeves, Reeves.
And her first name?
Kendra.
Okay, nope, I do not have a Kendra Reed.
Okay. Then on November 16th, Mike made an appearance on the H3 podcast.
You're very good with dates. I've noticed you have these very specific dates. How do you remember the specific date like that? My brain doesn't work that way.
Well, you remember dates that change your life, like the day you quit everything or the day you found our Lord Jesus Christ.
Is there any other dates that you recall that have that level of impact in your life?
Oh, I don't know. You got, people's birthdays.
Birthdays.
When you get married and things like that.
So we have your.
I remember those 2 dates. I remember.
So hold on one sec. So we have. Are you married?
Yes.
Oh, so your wife's birthday is a good date to remember.
Thanks for watching.
Love is not a gamble. Love is not a toy. When you find the one you love, he'll fill your heart with joy. If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd gladly take you back and take the arms of fate. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, MyPillow.com.
Oh, honey, just grab some money and go to McDonald's.